Bienvenidos. Welcome, familia, to BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios in the South Bronx at La Central. BronxNet's your multimedia public service network with experiential learning for students, multi-platform delivery of multi-channel, multi-site services. And here we are in the South Bronx, where there used to be a vacant lot. BronxNet identified the need for services here in the hub. We're providing experiential learning, media education, and production around media arts and technology at BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios at La Central. And right now, we're in the windows on the South Bronx studio. And as you look upon the vistas of the South Bronx, you can see the subway, you can see the light is a little bit more golden in the Bronx. The sunrises and sunsets are amazing. And there's a lot of reasons for that. This is a creative borough, and BronxNet has a deep commitment to the arts community. And that's why we're so proud to partner today with En Foco, an amazing arts organization around this immersive media technology, arts, activism, and community session. This is just the beginning. BronxNet has built these studios for you, whether you're an artist, a citizen of the Bronx, a student in the Bronx, whether you're a school or organization, youth organization, arts organization. We've built production stages in the South Bronx for you that are making herstory together with you. You can be part of positive transformation here in this studio, where we're going to be offering not only media education, but advanced production services, best-in-class production in our immersive media studio, which will have extended reality production stages, as well as mixed reality, augmented reality. These are technological services that we're providing to help you explore as an artist, as an aspiring professional, that help you get leverage in a competitive job landscape around media and technology. And BronxNet has a track record of doing this over the course of 3 decades from our multiple locations. This new location in the South Bronx is going to be available to you starting this 2023. In the meanwhile, from this space, we're offering community events such as this and open houses, and then you'll begin to use these spaces as we do technological integration here. Our immersive media studio, our learning labs, our innovation labs at BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios, we're building for you. And here today, we have some amazing artists that are going to be presenting on immersive media technology. These are some of the themes and topics and services we're going to be offering here in our studios. We've got a partnership with En Foco, and with us is an En Foco resident and fellow, Betty Yu, who's a friend to BronxNet as well. She's an activist, photographer, filmmaker, and immersive media artist, and we're very proud to see you here today. Also with us, please, a round of applause for Trish Giannakis, who's an Emmy Award-winning immersive media artist, and she is a professor of art, as well as a resident at BronxNet through Creatives Rebuild New York. She's going to be creating new work and providing media arts education at BronxNet right here. You can actually register for a class right now. If you go to bronxnet.org/education, you can register for a class with Trish and Will Roberts, who's here, another panelist, amazing artist, thinker, strategist. He has a specialty in UX design. He's a 3D animator and game developer, and he is incredible, and he's part of the BronxNet team as well through Creatives Rebuild New York. So this is an amazing program, Creatives Rebuild New York, that is allowing BronxNet to work with 10 artists around arts education and media at BronxNet. And you're going to learn more about this as we talk about our services. But in the meanwhile, BronxNet's celebrating 30 years of public service next year. We have a lot to celebrate together around that. This is positive transformation through media. And En Foco, our partner today, is celebrating close to 50 years of public service. And we're proud of Bill Aguado, the executive director, and Danny Peralta, managing director, and Kim Vaquienda, who's doing amazing things, along with Oscar J. Rivera, En Foco's program director. Please welcome Oscar J. Rivera of En Foco.
Hi, everyone. My name is Oscar J. Rivera, and I'm the programs director here at En Foco, and I just want to thank you all for coming out to join us. Is that better? Okay. I want to thank you for coming out to join us. This is our final session in the Immersive Technology, Art, Activism, and Community Workshop, and we're really excited for this one. This one's going to focus on our artists. And if you know anything about En Foco, artists are our priority. Since 1974, we have made a lasting legacy of providing a platform, opportunity, and just caring for artists of color and making sure that we're standing on, the front lines with them and giving them opportunities that might not exist otherwise. And so with that being said, I just want to thank our funders, the New York State Council on the Arts, with support through Wayfarm and the Office of the Governor and the State Legislature. And let's get this show on the road. I'm going to take this off.
Okay, so I'm going to kick things off, and I'm really excited to be here with my highly esteemed colleagues here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about two particular tools today. Echoes XYZ, which is an audio immersive geolocated app. And particularly folks use that, whoa, sorry, I just heard myself very loud. A lot of folks use this to kind of animate walking tours, a very site-specific tool, and then Blip AR, which is an augmented reality tool. And I know you'll hear a number of various augmented reality tools today. But I will particularly talk about how I've used it with vulnerable, sort of marginalized communities, particularly working, I've done a lot of work in the Chinatown community with monolingual speaking immigrant tenants who are fighting landlord harassment and fighting gentrification. I've worked with young folks, and I'll share a project that I worked on with The Door, which is an organization that also celebrated its 50th anniversary last year, and it's working with vulnerable youth, homeless LGBTQIA youth, and we created a poster that we integrated an immersive 3D augmented reality element to the poster, and it was a part of an exhibition at the New York Historical Society. And so I'll kind of share some projects sort of involving community and working with community folks. So this is me. I'm actually going to not spend too much time on this. I feel like people can kind of find me if they want to find me, but basically a lot of my work, even though it's not here in this particular bio, a lot of my work is community driven and socially engaged and using photography, film, installation, new media in that way. So I'm going to talk about Echoes, XYZ, the geolocated immersive audio app. And so I'll just talk a little bit. I think everyone knows what geolocation is and that what that feature is on your phone. And so basically what it is it's an app that and I'll show you a video. It literally maybe would take you half hour to create a walk. It's very user friendly. It's free. There is a paywall once you get to, I think they make that you can make up to 10 walks for free. But after that, there is a paywall. But basically the idea is that you put a pin drop, right, like you would, they call it a marker, with an image, and you can add multiple layers of sound. You can play around sculpturally with the sound, spatially, make it louder when it gets to the center, make it, make it softer, and make some, you have another piece of sound kind of sort of get louder when you're going into the center, or again, like when you're moving away from the center of those circles that you see here on this mobile device. A lot of what I've done with this app is creating place-based site-specific walks. What's great about this tool is that you can download, you don't have to actually go to Chinatown or go to Sunset Park or the Bronx. I did a little project just to show you all so that you can kind of experience it on your phone here in the South Bronx. But You can also download it, right? So you don't have to go to that place, right? You could kind of play it like you would, a podcast. So I'm going to ask folks to either, if they want to take this and follow along here, if you want, or you can scan the QR code. If you scan the QR code, it will probably ask you to download Echoes. And again, you can, it's downloadable on your iPhone as well as your Android phone. So if somebody wants this, they can grab it. Does anyone want this instead of their phone? Okay, everybody wants to stick to their phone. That's cool. And so I can, I'm going to open up Echoes, and then actually it's on there. So anything that you create, it automatically, I mean, there's a moderator, of course. I mean, I created this like a couple days ago, but it will find something near you, which is great because if your geolocation is on, you allow it to track where you are, which is creepy. I know a couple of sessions ago we talked about surveillance and how these tools are really insidious, but for the purposes of this app, we do have to turn on tracking, and if you turned on tracking, it knows these are all the walks in the South Bronx that you can actually do right now. Meaning, if you follow the map, however you walk, these sounds and pictures will come up, right? So the first one is the one that I just created, and it's called. I'm going to go into the next slide here. And it's called South Bronx Community Resilience, Resistance, and Culture. And that should be the first one that comes up in the top left. Hopefully it came up for you all. Did it come up for folks? I will take that as affirmation. I'm also going to show you a demo of it. It should mimic what you're seeing on your on the app itself. And so what you can do is basically, what I did this, like I said, in a half hour. Anyone can do this. So I'm just showing you the interface. On the right side is actually how it shows up. So you can actually experience this on a desktop computer. You can experience this on your phone, anywhere where you have internet, right? As long as you've downloaded that to your iPad, your tablet. And I'm just showing you how you would actually use the app, right? So this is a screen recording. And basically, you can, in the top right, when you open your app, there's something that says autoplay, and so you can either turn that on or off. Autoplay means that if you're doing the route, if you're following this map that you see on the right-hand side.
Hip hop in the Bronx started in the early 70s.
And the map is actually
threw his first party, mixing this in the funk.
I don't know if I can lower this on my end.
And just seeing the reaction the crowd was having. Obviously, he had a great response from the crowd, and he just became the premier DJ.
Yeah, just a little, just a little bit more. And this is just me cruising around the app. And so what I was going to say is it's very intuitive if you have it on. You walk around, you follow the map, and there's like a little dot that is following you. And basically it knows where you are, right? And so the sound will pop up. The picture will come up. And so what's really great about this app, and then if you can lower, is that it, you can, do a lot of layering of sound, and I've done this quite a bit with, like I said, a lot of the Chinatown communities. I work closely with communities in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, and also in Chinatown, is that because there's no paywall, and it's really user-friendly, it's really easy to navigate. I literally have taught this where folks who are literally monolingual speaking Chinese immigrants who were able to add 2 or 3 points very, very fast, right? And like, we did an interview, we did an oral history, and we were able to add that very quickly. So on your phone, they took a picture on their phone, they recorded the interview on their phone, and they were able to add everything on there in a very, very short amount of time. And so I also, in here, obviously, if you want to experience it later and walk around, it's like I think it's the 2-block radius here. I basically grabbed clips from the film Decade of Fire, which I'm sure everyone here knows about that film, which is about redlining and gentrification here. And so that's what you experience here in this walk here. So it's an amazing tool. I'm going to go to the next slide. So this is a little bit more. So if you were to go to the App Store and download it, like I said, and then you open up the tool, these are one of the stories that will come up, and there's a whole description. This is all things you can do, again, like in a half hour, you can create this. And so this is what it looks like when you open it up. So there's a link that you can click onto. If you have a desktop computer that you want to just do that way, you can download it, or you can scan the QR code. So there's many ways to access it. The next tool I'm going to share is Blipbar, which is an augmented reality tool. And I know there's a number there's a lot of free AR tools these days. This one in particular I've used for educational purposes, and like I said, working with community folks who, the main purpose was actually to folks filmed each other, interviews about gentrification, about displacement, about their visions for the community and the future. And so when we came up with with the project, folks mainly wanted to center video and photography and audio, like oral histories. And so this was the tool that I found most useful because it's really easy to use, it's very user-friendly. And I know we've covered these terms in the past in our previous workshops, but just really quickly, augmented reality is a direct or indirect live view of a physical real-world environment. And those elements are augmented when you put your phone, a computer-generated perceptual information through your phone comes up, right? So it's like altering that using facial recognition, really, which is, again, creepy. It's tracking all of that. So what you're doing is you're telling the database, these are the images that I want to store here, and when someone uses their phone and they're going to recognize those same images that you told Blipbar to recognize, those stories come up, those videos come up, images come up, swirling, you could add a lot of 3D effects. I don't do that, that's not my thing, but it's super easy, literally drag and drop. It's a drag and drop situation for sure. So this project was a passion project of mine that I worked on for a number of years, Displaced in Sunset Park. Basically it's an ongoing multimedia project that really explores the impact of urban gentrification on longtime immigrant residents, Latinx and Chinese immigrants in particular in the neighborhood that I was born and raised in. And so basically, as you can see, I've had this exhibited at different places in community-oriented spaces. And so basically, I encourage everyone to explore this newspaper here that was a part of 2 shows. And basically, it's very self-explanatory if you were to open it up. I mean, you don't have to do it now if it's like too big and bulky. But basically, it tells you how you could experience these stories. So you could take this map and actually walk in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. You can start on the Chinatown side, which is like 60th Street and 8th Avenue in Brooklyn, or you can start on the Latinx, like Sunset Park side, which is like 45th Street, around 45th Street, like in 4th, 5th Avenue. But you walk around and basically there's a guide. So if you aim your camera with this app to these locations, it will read all of the, racial, I told you using it's also racial, surveillance, very racially biased, facial recognition, and it's reading all of this data and the stories will come up. And so this map, is free, for folks to take if they want to do it. But I also had it in a gallery where if people didn't want to walk that 20-block stretch, they could just augment the faces and locations to be able to see, to hear and experience those stories. And this is like a 1-minute video just explaining how easy it is to create this experience, right? I know this is like sped up, of course. This is like sped up like 200 times. It's a 7-minute video, like crunched into like a minute and a half. But it's showing you how easy it is to use this tool. And I'm just doing basic buttons, right? Like navigating it to go to YouTube. You can navigate it to go to Instagram, anything you want, right? It's all literally drag and drop on the right side. You'll see in a second, it'll come up in a second and I'll show you. If you look to the right of this, you can add really simple effects, right? This is all fairly new in the last couple of months. They've made it more robust. But what I did was I just grabbed my URL from my YouTube. On the right, you see here, literally, go to YouTube, put the link in there, and then once someone scans that location, this video, which is featuring Alfredo Lopez and Maritza and Alfredo, their story comes up of how they moved to Sunset Park in the 70s because they were part of a group called Puerto Rican Socialist Party, and they wanted to start a chapter out there. And so they were doing organizing out there. So that's their story that you can experience. And then the video is about to come to an end. So I test out, you want to test out your blip, or they call it a blip, before you make it go live, meaning you scan the picture itself that you created it with, and then you can make it go live in 2 seconds, and then you could go to location and test it out, or you can just test it out. You can test it out on your the photo that you plugged in. And I'm just gonna, really quickly ask you guys if you want to experience. So before I do that, this is just a few places that this was exhibited. So this was in Sunset Park at a location, it's called Open Source Gallery. And they call it South Slope now, but it's really Sunset Park. South Slope became a popular term that real estate developers used because all the park slopers couldn't afford park slopes, so they wanted to make it very attractive to white yuppies. And so it's actually Sunset Park, but they call it South Slope. So I convened a panel of activists and organizers who do a lot of anti-gentrification work, and so we did a talk. This was also a part of Brick is an art center in downtown Brooklyn, and I exhibited a version of that there as well. And then I did walks. So we started out in the park, and then we did a walk, and I showed people how to use the tool so they could augment it on the newspaper like you have, or in the actual physical location. And so now I'm gonna ask you all if you wanna open up your, if you wanna take this, you can, but just open up, it should be a big B on there, and it's the orange B that's on the iPad or your phone. So let me just do that. So it's the orange B, and it should open up like that. And so if folks basically, it tells you, so you can do lots of fun things on here. I should probably use her for fun, actually. I have a little kid, so maybe eventually he's gonna wanna do that. I'm too serious, I guess. Okay, but basically you wanna X this out. So you say yes, yes, yes. You wanna say yes, allow camera, all of that. I only allow tracking when I'm using the app, but up to you, whatever you guys want to do. And it should open the app. And then once you're open, all you have to do now, so now hopefully folks are at the stage where you've got a bunch of lines with words and a big circle, so it's waiting to scan an image now, right? So now I'm gonna go to the next thing. So I as a part of the show that I had at those 2 places in Brooklyn, I gave out this postcard, or you can aim your phone literally at this image here, and you have to hold down the circle. So if you, or the postcard, so if you gotta fill up the screen with the postcard like this, and you need to hold it down, and then you'll see that you can experience these different stories. So you can hit this one, and then you can play it. Again, okay, let me not do that so that, well, I'll do that. So then you can stop it, and you can go back, and you can experience something else. So these 5 little short videos I made, and it's basically about through my lens and my parents' lens of growing up in Sunset Park, and how it's again, the changes are enveloping us all over on the Latinx side and the Chinatown side, where Chinese developers from China actually are coming and really trying to push working class folks out, and also on the Latinx side, where Industry City is. Probably have heard of Industry City, which is basically has been pushing folks out. It's like a multi-billion-dollar complex, art complex, a makerspace, but it's complicated. But anyway, so depending on the story that you want to experience, You could, I kind of have these simple buttons that you can press to kind of learn about that experience. Now, if you do the same thing with this on the screen here, or you could also, this is their story here. This is Maritza and Alfredo, which is the first story. And then everything is matched up. So if you go to number 1, which is Alfredo and Maritza, there's also number 1 here. So meaning if you literally took this map and walked around Sunset Park, you just aim your phone at the park, at Sunset Park, and follow this sort of frame. You could do either, and then their story will come up. And so if I were to blip, so I'm going to do it on here, but if you can do it on here, you will see that their story comes up. These are, so it's just, again, really simple. And so you can hear about their activism in the community. You can hear about them talking about how the boundaries have changed over the last 40, 50 years they've been there. And then you can hear about them moving to Sunset Park when they first moved in the 70s, like I said, because they were active with the Puerto Rican Socialist Party. And then I actually collected a lot of archival photos and things from them. So Alfredo was actually one of the leaders, and here's a photo, if you can see, of him, if you play the video of him with like Angela Davis and Jane Fonda from 1971, I think, or something. So yeah, I mean.
My first acquaintance with Sunset Park was when Alfredo and I were in the Puerto Rican Socialist Party.
I don't know if you can
Puerto
hear
Rican
it,
Socialist
but.
Party used to have a nucleo in Sunset Park. So the first times I ever came here was coming to that nucleo, which I think was like on 6th Avenue.
Okay, I'm gonna, so you get the idea. And then I'm gonna stop it. So hopefully were folks able to just try it out? Okay, cool. So yeah, you can do that with the other photos, and you could read about you could basically experience these other stories. So like I said, this is the same image that is in here, that is on number 1. And I try to make it really easy because I actually when I first launched this, I was invited to a lot of different like schools, like middle schools, specifically in Sunset Park, to talk about this project. So I was really conscious of like making things super like numbers matching and everything. So that picture is this picture here on number 1, but this is in color. So this is all in the back end again. It's really easy to learn. Folks who want to write me, I can send you my tutorial that I use when I teach it. But basically, it's not rocket science at all, and I'm all about demystifying the cultural production process. And then the last thing I'll share before I close out is this particular project I mentioned, which was a part of the Art for Change Artists and the Homeless Collaborative show at the New York Historical Society. And basically, young folks, I worked with a group of 10 young people from The Door, which is an organization that, like I said, celebrated its 50th anniversary. They're in the Village in Manhattan, and they work with, mostly young folks of color who are facing homelessness and housing insecurity. We worked together over a period of 4 months. And basically, those photos down here where you see kind of us working together. And so basically what we ended up doing was we created a poster that became interactive. So folks could go to the show, and they were invited to pick up this iPad that you see here that's below the poster, or use their own phone. And when you aim your phone at the poster, different stories come up. And so they interviewed each other about literally kind of questions about kind of their experience with homelessness and their sort of fears and hopes for the future and that kind of thing. And then they did a drawing activity too, sort of dreaming, using expanding their imagination through poetry, through writing, through drawing, and so that was also integrated into this project. And then the last thing we did was had each of them kind of work on a huge butcher paper and literally draw out what their vision for ending homelessness. I think we said like in 2050 or something like that. And then we finally had a chance to go visit the show back in, it was only a number of, we took a few groups at a time because of COVID. This was like earlier this year, no, last year, I can't remember now. Anyway, sorry. I was pregnant then and everything was just kind of a blur. But sometime earlier this year or late last year. So we all went and if you kind of like just really quickly, I can share with you. So basically, and I'll have everyone do it in 2 seconds, but basically, there's about 4 to 5 interviews, and then within it, you can see their drawings. Within that, you can see the collective, their journals that they did, and then their collective drawings for a vision to end homelessness. It was a lot of fun working with folks. Last thing I would say is that I was going to bring them today, but I forgot. But there was a giveaway poster, so people could take a poster with them, basically, to remember the experience and literally to have something they could put up if they want. So the good thing about this is that a lot of folks in the Asian community and probably other communities have been using QR codes forever. So there is a little QR code embedded in the poster that people could take home if they didn't want to download the app, because we understand that could be a barrier to entry in many ways. People don't have data on their phone, don't want to, there's all that stuff. But this, I just wanted to show you, this is something from my collective, Chinatown Art Brigade, we've been using this is like 6 years old. So QR codes are a thing that now with the pandemic, everyone's using it, which is great. But hopefully you're able to do the same thing where you can, I invite you all to so you just kind of have to X everything out. I'll just do it here on my thing here. And so then you could, if you, and then actually I can hold it out to you. And you can kind of see the various stories. So if you click on this, you see the, come on. Should have preloaded this, sorry guys. Well, hopefully maybe it's quicker on your phones or on your devices. But basically, they talk about, so this is their own story of, they wrote to their future selves in 2041 how they helped end homelessness. And so you can kind of navigate this. So each of them wrote and drew. And some of them wrote long poems and stuff. And then you can go back and you can experience these other different elements there. And then there's a QR code, like I said, that's like in the center, which you can scan or not scan, totally cool either way. And that actually goes to resources on a website to learn more about the door and learn more about, about the services and what they do and about the young people. And I know I have 2 minutes left, so I'm just gonna not really like demo this part, but just to share that the Chinatown Art Brigade, which is a collective that I co-founded some years ago, about 7 years ago, and we do a lot of work with tenant groups in Chinatown fighting displacement. Of course, after 9/11, basically all the sort of displacement really kind of accelerated. And so we worked with folks in the community and we launched the Housing for the People mapping project. So we work really closely with a group called CAB, Organizing Asian Communities, and they have a group called Chinatown Tenants Union. And so they've been fighting landlord harassment and illegal evictions and all of this now for last almost 20 years. And so these are the questions we asked them. So we did sort of like a group brain trust of what folks wanted on the map. And of course, all this is in English and in Chinese. And this is like a brainstorming session. What's missing? What do you miss that is now a hotel that used to be a real community center or a movie theater or a bakery, right? Because all these places are now ultra gentrified, like commercial galleries are there now, or just like huge condos, right? There used to be so many factories. And so now you can see how we mapped it out. So we did a physical map and people just printed out pictures and put it up. And then eventually, and this is our launch of it, and the map is at the office, so people can literally use their phones and actually scan the QR code again or use the app. And then we had some walkthroughs and where people could, if they didn't want to do a walk around Chinatown, we had pictures up where people could actually do the same thing you just did. And then finally here, and then just some other pictures of what you would find doing that. And so something like what in a hotel, that's the hotel now, and it used to be home to the last movie theater in Chinatown with a mural that was made by Latino and Chinese young folks on the side here from 1977. And then I know my time has expired. This is the last thing I'll show, which is this is what it is now, and people could blip it, right, with like physically in the space or the picture. And this was home to Silver Palace, which was the first unionized restaurant in Chinatown. And then you can learn about the struggle of unionization by Chinese immigrant waiters. So I will stop there. Thank you very much. And I hope you experiment with these tools. Thank you.
Can everyone see that all right? Well, thank you for being here today. I'm just going to continue on with immersive technology talk here. And I'm an immersive artist, and I also do traditional raku, which is a Japanese firing process, as well as augmented reality and virtual reality. And here I am using the Oculus Quest. This is something I built in Tilt Brush. And that's just a virtual world that I collaborated with 2 other artists on. I really love working in the technology with art. I love the left-right side brain part of it all. It's pretty exciting. So I'll move on to the next slide. So we had a wonderful overview from Betty what augmented reality and virtual reality is going into the virtual experience, whereas augmented reality is the layering over the real world. I also teach. I'll be teaching a course coming up on Monday, which I'm excited about with augmented reality and virtual reality. Thank you. And what's excited about this technology, it really emphasizes layered learning. And I think this is really helpful for youth today as well, because these are the 3 main factors. I hear and I forget, I see, I remember, but if I do, I understand. And that's what we're trying to bring together here, is understanding. I thought this was a beautiful example of an augmented reality book. A lot of people are doing books now as well. And this is an artist's book. It's really incredible augmented reality where you have the full 3D animation and sound and everything. This is not my book. I did not make it, but this is one of my favorite examples of augmented reality. So really beautiful graphics. The last one's really cool with the snake. So that brings me to my artwork. This is one of my healing dancer, who I'm dancing with at my exhibition. There's these foam core printouts. I don't know where they went. Right over there. Those, if you want to you can find the augmented reality for the dancer that I just showed now, if you want to try it. So a lot of the apps that I'm running work with Instagram. So I'm using Spark AR. I use Blender as a tool, and those are my 2 favorite tools. They're both free. Yeah. And so yes, that's the healing dancer. Is it working? So here's an example of augmented reality in a virtual space. This is just an example of 2 filters that are really interesting. And these are the kind of things that I'm going to be showing everyone how to create with Spark AR. As well as a cyborg. This other image here, that's one of my sculptures that I converted into augmented reality as well. And here's an example. This is the one I wanted to show you guys. There we go. So besides Spark AR, I wanted to show you a little bit about virtual reality metaverse gallery. So I also use Spatial, which that's another free program. And what's great about Spatial is you can import your 3D objects or video or audio and photography into this space. This particular piece is an NFT as well, the first one that you see when you walk in. And then my healing dancer, she's going to start dancing in a minute. So if I wanted to right now, I could just change my view. Oh, there we are, Betty. And now you can see the pieces here. There you go. Oh, good, you got that one working. Great. So this is the same gallery space, and now it's integrating with everyone in the room, which is kind of exciting. So there's everyone here. Everyone's in my gallery. There's grass above you. With mixed reality. This is a great example of mixed reality because we're mixing virtual reality, we're mixing augmented reality, we're mixing it all together, we're mixing it on devices. So that's when you think about this new space, the space that we're moving into with virtual reality and augmented reality. You should be able to get to it from your phone. You should be able to get to it from your computer or a headset and to toggle between AR and VR, which makes it even more accessible. The next thing is going to be, we're all going to be an NFT, so. And we'll be tracked with our body, our Fitbit, and our steps will be tracked, and we'll be minting cryptocurrency at the same time.
Scary world.
Actually, I just
Exciting
talked to someone about it, so it's happening. It's already here. So I'll take you on into the program that I'm going to be teaching. I love this program. It's so much fun. This is Spark AR. It's free, so I'll just pick one of these quick demos. Some of the filters have already been created, so it just makes it an easier learning curve. So there I am right now. You can see. Okay, so if I can stand back. There we go. Yeah, see? So here we've got facial detection. It can also detect my eyes, my mouth when I talk. I got my hands. It actually it can do from head to toe. So that's just one example. And then I can add interactivity. So that I can get more advanced with this program. I can add programming to it as well. Let's see. I wanted to show you. And I have, with this program, eventually, after you create what you want, then you publish it. So you have to have a Facebook account, and then you download the program, and then here I'm working in the program. This is an interactive version, so I can change from fire to liquid to air. This is like a cloud smoke. Smoke looks just like the liquid, I think. Let's see, I'll try another one. Did you guys try any of the filters? Are you trying any of them? They're a lot of fun. I think what attracts me to augmented reality is that it's real world mixed with the immersive. If I were to have a animal spirit, I chose a golden unicorn. So that's my animal spirit. And so I was able to manipulate the textures all in this program. And again, I can add all kinds of programming. It's an easier type of programming. You don't need to know any kind of languages. It's called patches. And it's a wiring way to add the programming. So here's my unicorn, and I can just stop the video for a second, and I click on my unicorn here, and you can see I can just change the color right here with the color picker. So I can make it more purple to match my hair. Let's see. Try this one. There we go. And it's just very simple. I just change the tail. think I forgot to hit OK on this last one. There we go. Now we're purple. So now we just hit play. And now you can see I changed all the colors. And I can go in and change the lighting. I can change how metallic it is. A lot of times I use another program called Tilt Brush where I'll export my brushes and then I add the brushes onto the 3D object using skeletal structures and then they're combined as one and then those brushes make it look more organic rather than your typical 3D layering. But this is the healing dancer. So that's just one example of Spark. And then I just wanted to show you, there's a huge artist community that works with Spark AR. So I generally go on Facebook and I join the communities, I join the groups so that we can share our styles, what we've learned in the programs. It's a great community where you can just ask questions. And people post their latest pieces that they've created. They have contests all the time for people to enter and try out different things. So it just makes for a lot of fun way to be creative. And a lot of cosmetic companies are moving into this space now. A lot of companies are also making cosmetics for avatars in the metaverse too. So if for some reason this person's thing isn't showing up, but if you have a makeup that you like that you created, and then you can brand it in the metaverse, then the cosmetic company will pick it up and brand it as the physical makeup to go with the metaverse makeup. So there's a lot of interesting things happening, weaving in between the physical world and the virtual world. In fashion, especially. Fashion is really taking off with all of that. Let's see, showed you that one. Let's see. And does anyone have any questions with what I just gave you a preview? I have some more images to show. So like what you have with the geo-targeting, you can also do that with different augmented reality. So this past summer I was showing with Searchlight at NFT NYC. We showed in Times Square where we could have our artwork geo-targeted using, importing what we created into, here we're at the red carpet. These are some artist pieces. And they're not really I was just capturing for them. Those are my friends in the group. We're also giving POAPs away. POAP is this is a augmented reality version of the POAP, but POAPs are proof of attendance, and that is also an NFT. And that's a really fun way for people to remember events. A lot of concerts are doing that now. There are some sporting events that are doing that now. When they say that you're going to get a free NFT, it's a POAP, and it's only worth one block on the blockchain. So if it's probably Polygon. Polygon's like the lowest end of the mintable crypto that people use in creating NFTs. So besides doing augmented reality, I create NFTs as well. So this is Times Square again, and there's a SpaceX rocket taking off right there in front of me. There's the SpaceX rocket. And it was kind of fun watching it because it actually did go up in the air. I don't know if I have it off whole thing. We'll see if I can find it. And this is a big space structure another person made, a big bug, which made it really, there's the rocket. Oh no, that's a monkey. Somebody else did a monkey ape that was climbing on people while they walked around. Somebody else made a augmented reality character. It's kind of funny. no, that was done in Unity.
oh.
Somebody that I met at NFT NYC made that.
Wow.
Here's the app. It's called Going Ape NFT Official. That's what that app is. He was, and you could make him swim and everything. He was very fun. That was the girl who created it. So, a lot of fun stuff. And again, it's funny when you're doing your art as augmented reality in public spaces, because you never know how it's going to be presented. You know, like here, you know, people are walking around, and that's that. Now you're going to see my house construction. But it's really exciting to work with these programs, and they're very, very simple. I really enjoy working with them, and I think that's all I have, if anyone has any questions. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Will Roberts. This is what I look like in the metaverse. As people see this icon, sometimes they don't know what my race is. It doesn't matter. I come here to do good work before I leave this planet, so that's what I look like in the metaverse. But this is what I look like in real life with glasses on. I'm a VR artist, a game designer, a human of. I love to learn. I love to teach what I've learned as I go. Yeah, so over the span of maybe the past 10 years, I've been working in VR, probably a little bit longer than that. We think about the many hours I've spent playing Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or some kind of video game. Yeah, but I've worked with tons of different companies over the years, working on the digital side, but from a storyteller. I use VR and AR to tell stories, but also to teach things through these mediums. Let's see. So this is not an ad. This is direction. If you want to, you should download Adobe Arrow. It's going to be a fun time. A little bit of a demonstration and also like a cooking show at the same time. So this is Augmented Pictures. These are my characters that I've made over the past years. Augmented Pictures is a studio that I started 2015, 2016. And it had nothing to do with the technology. It was like my vision of what telling stories that can change world, change lives, augmenting the way people saw Black and brown folks. And I want Black and brown folks to see themselves in these stories, in these games. So I took it upon myself, like, hey, let's do this, and try to bring other people along for the ride. And these are just some more characters from that world. We can talk about that. And like I said, I like to use these technologies to teach. So BHX 1619 is a project I'm working on right now. It's like taking the 1619, which, I mean, BHX is Black History Extended. 1619 is when slavery happened in this country, and taking that demarcation and like the history of this planet, taking that, and how can we teach from that, from that break, from African diasporic. So these are all made with, I know Trish talked about Toothbrush. Toothbrush is a virtual sculpting tool, but also a virtual painting tool. We're going to see some other clips from that. So I use these. So these are some of the historical artifacts, virtual artifacts. Like in my work, I would like to use modern folklore. A lot of people call me like an Afrofuturist. I don't call myself that. It's more like I call it applied Afrofuturism, where I'm using Afrofuturistic, if you talk about theories, but actual practice. So it's not actual, let's see Black folks in space. No, let's see how can we get Black folks to make spaceships to go to space, like that type of thing, or simulations about space. So that's where my brain is always at. And when you talk about sport, I'm an athlete. I grew up an athlete. I still call myself an athlete, even though I don't compete anymore or anything. I try to stay athletic, but I always look at what does athletics look like in the future from this African diasporic lens, and what does it look like in AR and VR in the future. So one thing I did was put, like, what does it look like when you make your own sport? So one thing I'm doing right now is developing a sport that's kind of mixed between African Dembe boxing, which is on the top left. I watch tons of anime, so the Legend of Korra, pro bending, and also using the game itself. I've used demos of the game to actually stop conflicts with kids, which is fencing. When fencing was first founded, it was made for like a duel. If you wanted to stop an argument, people would actually cut themselves, but we're not in that time anymore. But so that's the name of the game. I can go through all that, but this presentation is about the community. So building the community around the things I make is what I've came to in 2020. So why is this stuff important? I always talk about like VR, people, AR and VR is the future. People say it all the time. I always say, why is it important? One thing as an artist that uses these things to tell stories, I go back to 2020 when everybody was on lockdown. VR was still like a niche thing. And I kind of saw it as an opportunity not as an opportunity, but looking at it in a larger lens. Looking at lockdown as if I caught a disease by walking outside, a virus by walking outside, what is my last piece of art that I want to make? And how would that affect people? So, and I just kind of see that, and I kind of see it as going into hibernation or going into some kind of a space where you have these things on your heart and you have you don't know when your last day is on this planet, so let's make it and just stop talking about it. And I feel like we're still seeing the ripple effects of artists that went on that same path, and I think great art is going to be made coming out of the pandemic. I feel like 2020 is still here. It's still 2020, the longest year ever, but we're slowly coming out of it. So, and I think, I always look at people that came before me, artists, theologians, anybody that went inside of a hibernation or some kind of state of introspective. The best work came after that introspective time. You look at music. Coltrane, he had a kid. He went to the attic, came down with some of his best work ever. Jesus in the wilderness. You look at Moses. You look at all the saints across the ages. People went into hibernation, went to some kind of thing, and came out better and making better work. So I feel like that is what 2020 is going to do for us as artists, and I think we're still kind of seeing the wave. So we talk about tools that we use to make things, but make them fast and make them efficient. So Tilt Brush is one of the softwares that we'll teach. I know I will teach. You going to teach Tilt Brush? I'll teach.
I hope so.
So Tilt Brush. So this is like the product example of Tilt Brush to kind of show off what it is. So it's basically like virtual painting. So you paint in space. Google had a small team that made this app a while back. I think it was one of the first apps ever in the App Store. But basically, they made virtual paper. You can infinitely paint or sculpt anything that your heart's desire. Like I use it for almost everything. Quick sketches of things, dreams. Like I would dream something, I go paint it, and then I can hand somebody else my dream. This is the only medium that I can see that you can do that with. Because in VR, like your brain, when you put a headset on, your brain instantly takes it in as you went to a real place. So as artists, we have the ability to make something and make it with the intention, whatever emotion we want somebody to feel or invoke, we can do that by putting them into a space. So as a storyteller, that is like the ultimate. So like when you look at, we can look at Pixar. Like Pixar is the biggest animation company in the history of the world. They want people to be inside of the shows. Now we can actually put people next to the character in the show. That's like, let's do that forever. So that's what I'm doing. So like, yeah, so as a kid, like Saturday morning cartoons was a thing. Now you can have memories of being next to that person. It doesn't have to be a cartoon either. It can be a living being. That's a whole other sermon. I'm not going to preach on that. Let me go to the next slide. So then we think about tilt brush and how people use it. We think about Gen Z. You think about this newer generation of folks that's going through school shootings. They're going through totally different things than we went through. And I feel like, but they have more tools than we had. They have different outlets and different ways of speaking. So I look at using AR and VR as a way to speak, just like any other art form. So like this kid right here, at the time he was maybe 15, now he's maybe 17 now, it's been 2 years ago. But yeah, so him making this virtual painting that showing himself walking into a better world. So this is like his version of teleporting himself. So we would think about like what kids go through and how they speak and what they, just like these emotions. So like this is him speaking in a way that trying to communicate a certain emotion. I think this is it's crazy, and this is something that he made. So this is built in tilt brush. The person that's walking is built in Photoshop, so you match those two things together, a 2D medium with the virtual. So these are two different projects. The one on the left is actually these from the same person. So this is one artist at the time. She was 17, about to apply for college. I do a lot of pop-up workshops in places, tenement buildings, project buildings. I mean, that's where I come from, so I'm very comfortable in those spaces. People like Facebook and Google, they're not comfortable in those places, so I go there where I go to places where they don't want to go. So basically, like this one on the left was looking at like, this is like a saber-tooth tiger. She wanted to see what a saber-tooth tiger looked like back in the day and what does that look like from a real tiger in today. Yeah, so like science, this is like science, or you can tell a story with it. So how do we tell stories? And this is the lobby of a building. And then a few months later, she builds something like this, like virtual fashion. So like she has a piece that's hanging on the wall, you have the same piece on the shirt, and you got the same piece in the shirt that she's selling. So she built a brand, and everything was made in VR. There's no coding involved. This little devil angel thing was made in VR with an app that's similar to Tilt Brush, where you virtually sculpting a character, and then she saved it out and put it into the application that I'm going to show y'all today. So yeah, so you see how these things are made. So like a lot of times we just see them as these like really heavy technical things. I think a lot of it, it's technical, but how you teach it is, there's different ways you can teach it that's not technical at all, and that's one of my passions, to dispel the myth of I have to be a scientist, I got to be a mathematician to learn how to do this stuff. There's a lot of tools, there's a lot of things out now that we can do it, and we can do it in the right way and tell the stories that we want to tell, and all of this stuff is free 99. Yeah, so let me see, we go to the next, the internet lagging out. So yeah, and when we talk about how different emotions, like I'm the guy that's trying to use VR to tell stories and use it in a human way, not just play games. I love games, y'all know I love games. But there is a deeper level. If we can immerse people in a different level, and they can show the emotion and speak and almost like making medicine for themselves. I think that is far beyond just shooting zombies or crazy things like that. So one of my students, she had an idea of making an affirmation, like a garden. But actually, it started out for affirmation, like a virtual room for herself. So she wanted to build a virtual room to have affirmations on the wall. So every time she got upset or something, she can go into this virtual room and feel better, right? So she was like, well, I just can't have this for me. I need this for other people might need the same thing. So I was like, hey, let's make it for other people. So this is a garden of affirmations for Black women. So in this experience, there's 7 different flowers, and you can walk up to Sarah. The artist's name is not Sarah, but this is her character, Sarah. And you can tap on each flower, and each flower gives you an affirmation. I thought that was genius. And this person is an 18-year-old kid. Just imagine if this person keeps going and makes like a therapy, a therapy brand off making AR and VR therapy stuff. Like she goes to med school and just like changes medicine. Like that's like, she made medicine for herself and gave it to somebody else. And now we watching it on the screen. No, that's crazy. That's crazy. So like, yeah, man, I'm just so happy to be here. So now, yeah, I'm just happy to live in this time where we can like, I don't know, make things with people, and also like just give the knowledge to another generation that's gonna take it further than we can ever go. So now it's just time for the cooking show. So I'm gonna cook up some virtual experiences right in front of your eyes. I always tell the story, Rachel Ray taught me how to cook, but I learned how to cook from my mama and my grandma, but they never let me in the kitchen, but I saw the process though, right? Rachel Ray taught me like the process of cooking a meal within 30 minutes, and my wife loves it. So right now I'm gonna show y'all how to cook a virtual experience, not physically, but you'll see how the sausage is made. Check this out. Just to warn you, I am 6'7.5", 6'8", so if I stand up, don't get scared. Or my head might be out of the screen. Okay, let's go over here.
Is that an iPad?
This is an iPad. Oh, yeah, so this is an iPad. It looks like a beast, but it's the same iPad you guys ever. But this is made for multimedia. So this iPad has these grips. You can get it. It's called a Mega Mount.
It's good for kids too.
$20, Amazon. This is not. I don't have any affiliate links, anything like that. But basically, this iPad is made. I have this iPad virtual scanning and stuff like that. So there's 2 handles on the side. You can mount lights. You can mount lenses here. It's very handy. There's a level, so you want to be level. It has this mount right here. You can mount on a tripod. So good. So yeah. So it is a beast, but it has a purpose. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. My mic is probably squealing. All right. I'm gonna do this. Then I'm going to do this. All right, the cooking show starts. What's my time look like? All right, I'm going to move to the middle, get myself right. All right, so since we're in the Bronx, the birthplace of hip hop, I'm going to show you some of my students' work. This student came to me and said, I'm not an artist at all. I don't know how to paint, I don't know how to draw, but I can dance. So I was like, okay, I can teach you. You teach me some dance move, I teach you how to make this AR thing. So choreographing the dance, took some avatars, and she has a trio of dance moves and avatar. I don't know what to call that. A dance crew, that's what it is. So that's one piece, look at that. And also, with this red button on the side here, we can record this and you can post it to social media if you wanted to. So that's how I share what this is. I'm gonna show you one more piece, actually, over here. And if you look at the shadows on the ground, the contact shadows, it looks like it's actually in the space. And that is all the special sauce that's built into the app, Adobe Aero. That's the app I told you to download in slide 3. If you did not, you're losing right now. Okay, I'm gonna go to some more experiences. So I'm gonna show you, hope this loads faster. Yeah, good job, good job. So this is that one piece I just showed on the screen. Scary, but educational. So this one on the left, this skull on the left is a 3D scan of a real skull. You can go close to his teeth. This one on the right is a 3D model of a saber-toothed tiger. So that is crazy. It took a lot of time, a lot of coding. Oh, man, it's so tough. It is tough. But adding context, that's one thing I like to teach. So let's make one from scratch. So this is Adobe Aero. Let me go to this homepage. Adobe Aero looks like this when you first open it up. It has like a mock-up, like a mock scene, what you call scenes. Those experiences are in scenes. So here down at the bottom left, there's a blue Create New button. And then you scan a flat surface. You say, okay, I want it right here in the middle of the floor. Okay, so now you did a pin, you pin that down. Go to the bottom left again, hit the plus sign. Then it gives you all these options of where to get content. So you have to have content on your iPad to do this, or even your camera roll. Put pictures of your kids, all that. I've tried that before. But then there's a starter pack of assets that's built into this software too. Tons of stuff. So let me go to abstract shapes. All these nice IKEA, Guggenheim type of things here. So let me go to this. This looks pretty cool. So just like all the gestures that we know and love, we do every day. We tap on things and we zoom. So right now I'm using 2 fingers to make it bigger, make it smaller. All right? And then you can check it out like, oh, is this big enough? Okay, that's big enough, okay. So now I'm gonna go get something else. I'm gonna go make a preview first. And say, okay, that looks great. That's nice. Mama like that. So look around. All right. So if you wanted to export this, or even send it to somebody, so now I have an experience, right? I don't know how much time I got, so I'm trying to like blaze through. so if you want to, I'm actually going to add some more stuff to it, actually.
You have 7 minutes.
7 minutes? Oh, it's good. I'm cooking. Rachel Ray. All right, so let me add something animated. So we're going to go to animation. So these are all the pre-made things. Let's go to, since we are in New York, the mecca of basketball, I'm going to get this girl right here. Put this right here. Pinch and zoom. I'm going to put her right behind this so y'all can see the occlusion. Occlusion is when 2 objects are crossing each other. So she actually looks like she's behind this thing. That is called occlusion. See, you learned something today. Free lesson. Okay, let's do something else. Let's do a plus sign. We're going to go to, actually, no, let's do a preview. Let's see what she does. So there's animation baked into this character. Let's see what she does. So right now, she does nothing. I'm going to show you why. Let's go to edit. And let's go, I'm going to tap on her. And then if you go to the bottom where it says behaviors, see these icons at the bottom? You probably can't see that because it's super small. I'm going to try to make it bigger by turning. So behaviors are where you quote unquote program, this visual program. So I'm gonna add a trigger. A trigger is a behavior that happens when you enter the app. So right now I can have her animation play on start, on tap. These are all the options. Proximity, so proximity is when I get close to her, something will be triggered. Proximity exit, so I can, when I exit a space, something is triggered, right? I'm gonna put proximity entered. So I'm gonna hit play. Maybe, let me see. Actually, girl, why you ain't playing? Let's see. Basketball, girl. All right, there you go. I'm gonna hit to this checkbox. See, the teacher need to be refreshed. I hit action. So if you go to, let me go back. So proximity is where when you entered the scene. So actually the behavior of when her animation starts. So I'm gonna hit action. Action is something that happens when I enter the proximity of that person. So I'm gonna go to play animation. So it shows the animation set that is attached to this character, right? So she has animation baked into the character. So she dribbles a ball, and through these settings, you can edit the animation. So make it faster, make it slower, make it really fast, so y'all can see what that looks like. Oh, and then you can make it infinite loop. So I can just hit play again, get a preview of what that looks like. All right, Kyrie, let's slow it down a little bit. And then, so the subject, girl, a basketball character, the animation set is the same. The clip name is Child Dribbles Ball, Dribbling Ball, and we're gonna just save it. And it's set to infinite, and there's no delay. So there's a delay. So there's no delay when it comes in. So we hit check. We can check that. So we just programmed something without programming. We just did it by knowing the process of like what goes where, right? So now I'm gonna hit preview, and this. Whoa. Actually, I messed up. Let's go back. What's my time look like? Oh, 3 minutes. Oh no. Oh no, here I go. Behaviors, action. Oh, there it is. And we're going to hit preview. We should have an animation. Why isn't that working? I don't know. See, every cooking show, you burn something at some point. Sometimes it takes a little bit for things to spawn. How many minutes? 1, 2, okay. So I'm gonna preview. Oh, there the clouds go. All right, so I'm gonna go edit, make the clouds bigger. Go down here to move. I'm gonna move it to the sky. It is clouds. Clouds belong in the sky. So hit play. So we got clouds. We got a girl that doesn't want to dribble today, and we have an experience. So if I hit this button, this camera button here on the right, I'll take a picture. If I touch this red button, I can record a video, which I can save and share it to social media. Don't want to do that right now, but it's gonna make me. So I'm gonna stop that video recording. Up here to the top right, there's a small icon. You probably can't see it because it's too far away, but people at home can probably see it better than you. Hit that, hit export. You can export it as a .real file. That's a reality file. And then if you want to export and send it to friends, you create a link. Internet, and then you can send them this link. Or you can send them a QR code. I have more slides, but that's my time for today.
Do you have another demo interactive one?
No, this is it. Thank you for the cooking show.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, Trish. Thank you, Betty. Guys, come on up here. And the question is, do you have any questions? You know, we consider what we do at BronxNet participatory media, and this is interactive technologies. And we've got at BronxNet media workshops around technology for you that you can register for right now at bronxnet.org/education. So Trish and Will, you guys are offering some classes at BronxNet that people can register for. Do you want to say something about those workshops?
Sure.
The class I'm teaching starts Monday, and it's going to meet 2 days a week, Mondays and Wednesdays, for an hour and a half. And we'll be covering Spark AR, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be online for this first session, so I strongly suggest signing up if you're interested, because this is it's a great deal. It's $50 for 8 classes, so you can't get that anywhere. So.
Take that class. Take that class. So I'll be teaching the AR class as well. Not Spark AR, but Adobe Aero. I haven't scheduled the times yet, but be on the lookout. We're going to do that. But also, yeah, over the span of time, I want to teach more classes, more things. Learning the tools, but also the theories behind the tools, the history of the tools, and how do we fit within the history of the tools. That's it.
Thank you. And Betty, I know you have some exhibitions coming up. I know as folks are lining up their questions, I see hands
Sure.
up.
Sure. No, is it okay to plug it's a non-BronxNet
Yes, please.
class?
By all means.
Third Newsreel, which is an organization that, for some reason, everyone's celebrating 50 years, but they, along with the Documentary Forum at City College, CUNY, they do these series, free workshops. So there is the AR, the app that I was showing you all, Blip AR. I think it's October 19th. And if you're interested, I think you just go to Third World Newsreel, twn.org, and you can sign up for that. But I do have a few exhibitions coming up that I don't know the exact date yet, but if you go to my site, maybe you can find out. It's just bettyu.net, and I feel we're doing self promotion. So
No, it's okay.
let's.
Actually, on that note, social media handles.
Oh, yes.
And then we'll
Can I ask one question though? If everyone can say one personal project you're excited about working on right now, because I feel like we talked a lot about our sort of community. Oh, but there is one question.
You had a question?
Oh, I just had a question regarding the age group that you're focusing on for the classes.
It can be from age groups. Age group for the classes can start from middle school to adult, any age group. So, and I wanted to promote. I have a show that's going on right now called Indelible at St. Peter's University's gallery. So I have some cards if anyone's interested, and that's going to be up until October 13th. And I'll be giving a lecture in a couple weeks. And my website's trishjanakis.com, and my Instagram is trishgiaart.
All right. So projects you're working on.
And
Things we
social
like.
media. I think.
So social media, Willie Rowe, so WILLIERO. Just put it in Google, you'll find me somewhere on the internet. Website, augmentedpictures.com, augmented pictures. You can spell, projects that I'm working on, I think there's 2 projects that I'm working on. Me and a friend, Paul Dio, we come together, it's almost like Talib Kweli Black Star. Like when we come together, we make Starseed, but it's basically like we just teaching people how to make stuff. Like he's a graph artist, been in this born and bred New York kid, muralist turned technologist. We come together, we try to just teach all the things that we have in our bodies. That also Vala, which is the VR esport that I created. I created a sport. It sounds weird, but I created a sport that people compete in. And I look at that as a way to get people off the couches into spaces, sweating and competing with each other. So you can go to vrdiamondleague.com or playvolla, VOLLA.com. It's put together as a esports, a VR esports league, but it's more than competition in games. It's about, if y'all heard me talk about anything, it's about humans, human spirits.
Can I give my social real quick? Instagram is just very boring, not like exciting like you guys. BettyU21. But I did want to say Transmitter Gallery, which is in Brooklyn, showing work of a new project that I asked about, your passion projects, because mine is, it's called We Were Here Unmasking Yellow Peril, and it's looking at the history of anti-Asian violence and anti-Asian xenophobia, and actually really trying to put a different narrative out there, because I think right now the Asian American community is really divided, and there's a lot of calls for very pro-policing and very much like a lot of anti-Blackness that's in the Asian community right now, and this project really aims to counter that, and so collecting stories from people and showing the solidarity that communities of color and Black and Asian, particularly Black and Asian solidarity in New York City and the history of that. And so that project is going to, some of that project will be exhibited in the form of collages and some media at Transmitter Gallery in Brooklyn, if you just look up Transmitter Gallery in October. And then next year, I have a solo show with my collective, that sounds weird, but Chinatown Art Brigade, and it's at Pace University's gallery, which is in City Hall. It's like a ground level space, and augmented reality is going to be the main feature of that show. And so I'll be leading walks in Chinatown as well. So just wanted to plug that. Oh, project time! I love it.
The last project is actually this space itself, this building, helping BronxNet. Architect. It's definitely, it's going to be like the next 2 years, definitely going to be like a labor of love. I'm going to put everything, put my foot in it, like my grandma say, put my foot in it to make it good for the community. And once we, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Will, Trish, and Betty. And we've got some questions. We want to hear your voice on mic, and we'll start with you.
I had the same question she had about ages and who can take advantage of the classes, especially now that they're, almost free, right? But that's great. I don't have a question, but I do want to thank you guys again for these presentations. I just went down a rabbit hole. Right, like open up one app and I'm still on it, and I think I have like a whole virtual world that I've created in, like you said, like in half an hour, right? And like literally sitting here. So I want to thank you guys for that and for sparking some imaginations. Hopefully, this will continue. But thank you guys. That was really great.
Any other questions? Yeah. You could pass the mic. We have a show on BronxNet called Pass the Mic.
Oh, good.
You have a question?
No, it was just a question about the classes. So is there anything that a student needs to bring to the class in order to succeed, or do they just come? Do they need any special equipment, any special?
The class that I'm teaching is online, so they'll need a computer that they can log in with a camera, and they will need a computer for the classes that I'm teaching. And hopefully once we're open up here, the students can come here and use the computers that we're going to have. And it's very exciting because we've ordered all the equipment. A lot of the stuff is already here. So we're thinking like December, the facility will be up and ready for students to take classes.
Hi, y'all. I just want to know, as artists, what inspired you to cross that threshold and start working in immersion? And in a nutshell.
Well, I've always been interested in computer art. I look a lot younger than I am. I started doing computer art back before people were actually doing VR, and I did my first installation piece in 1999, which is a virtual reality piece. I have a master's degree in computer art from School of Visual Arts, and with that piece, I actually created sensors on the floor that you had to walk through to get the immersive experience. So I always knew that I wanted to do virtual reality art and combine it with the physical world, with my physical art.
Ladies first.
Please. Excuse me, I'm stalling, by the way.
How did I get here is like the Spider-Man getting bit by the spider, that type of thing. I feel like I was always here. I feel like as a kid growing up, Parents were on drugs. It's like Reagan 80s. I was a kid that draw and paint. So drawing and painting were my escapes. My imagination was my escape. So yeah, drawing, I was making my own worlds then. It was on paper, but it was a world. Fast forward, I don't know, X number of years. I'm gonna date myself. X number of years. I end up in grad school, getting the MFA in 3D animation, interactive art. One of my professors that I was a TA for, she was like one of the thought leaders in VR, that like just nurtured my brain as a 3D animator. And she was like, yeah, like VR is going to be a thing. I was like, what does that mean? Here's some research, here's the books, here's the people you should study. So I studied all the greats, just like I did in sports. Like I was a receiver, a tight end, I studied all the greats, and I became one, the best tight end in the league. I mean, in high school, college, I did the same thing in VR. Like, how do I translate what I did in sports into my professional life? This is what I do. I study the greats, make my own sauce, and here it is. Here it is. So I try to translate that. Yeah. So how I got here, that's kind of I don't know. Short, long answer. How I got here.
So for me, I studied film and photography, and then was involved with long form documentary form, and I found that the younger folks I was working with, their attention span, just wasn't there to watch a 60-minute or even a 30-minute film. And so literally, because I have a background in community organizing and advocacy work, it really kind of came from that, really through to understanding how young people, and not just young people, all kinds of folks, how they want to consume content these days. Not that folks can't sit through the 30-minute, but there's a lot more of a buy-in, right? There's like a higher barrier to entry to that, to getting someone to sit down to watch 45 minutes. But if you want to educate them on a social justice issue, maybe there's another way to do it. And also young people who, like, kind of bring us all down to earth, right? And people are like, you're always talking about what we're fighting against, but what are you actually fighting for? What kind of world do we want to imagine and live in? And thinking about liberated futures and emancipation and what could a just society look like? What can an end to capitalism and white supremacy and all these things that people have been thinking, and especially since 2020, I think all of us are wrestling with, like, we need a new kind of system. We need a new world because the current one is not working. And what do those issues look like, especially after the uprisings and all of that? And for me, I lean much more into immersive technology for me because young folks were like, art and culture, right? They reminded me, like, that's a way that we can unleash our imagination. It gives us permission to do that. And I think that these tools provide us that permission, young and old, to unleash our imagination of what kind of society we want to build together. And that's what keeps me kind of going and wanting to teach and work on projects. It's really sort of through that community-minded kind of social justice lens, I guess. So, yeah.
Thank you, Betty, Trish, and Will. For any artists in the room, is there anything that you kind of gleaned today that maybe inspires you, that you're thinking about, or what you'd like other people to think about? Does anybody in the audience have any thoughts on that? As an artist, feel free. Again, we encourage participatory media and arts, and that's what we do at BronxNet. But the conversation continues, and we're just getting started here in the South Bronx. There's great tech inequities here. There's great health inequities, and Will, I'm so pleased to hear about this game, this immersive technology game that's going to allow people to run, get fit, and leverage sports through technology. That's unique, and that's something that we definitely want to promote as well. So please be a part of positive transformation. We support local Bronx small business, and we right now have Zolci Milko, some nice food and refreshments for you. And keep Bronx strong para siempre. A round of applause for our panelists, Trish Giannakis, Will Roberts, and Betty Yu. Thank you to the En Foco team that helped organize this event. Yes, Oscar, Jay Rivera, and Danny Peralta, and Kim Vacchiendo, and We've got, of course, Bill Aguado, and then our BronxNet team worked very hard. A round of applause for BronxNet. Our Director of Community Affairs, Audrey Duncan, and Juanita Lara, Director of Development, Sanji Lopez, our producer, Andrea Matthew, and Carl Peters, our Director of Broadcast Technology, George Matos, Technical Director, Cody Anyuke, Executive Assistant, and Phil Lane, our Director of Business Services, and Rahman Sambo, Facilities Coordinator. These are the folks that are going to welcome you to BronxNet, your multimedia studios in the South Bronx. Thank you, and keep Bronx strong. Para siempre.